Well, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon and welcome here to the Princess Theatre. And now, when we booked this next gentleman, it was meant to be for the Jubilee occasion, continuing the wonderful festivities we had throughout the year for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. But since the times have changed, as we well know, and it's very fitting that he's here because we didn't actually think he was going to come after what happened, but he turned up in Greenock, and it's a pleasure to have him here on board. Very, very nice guy. We spent many time with him over the past 2 days, and he's a superb guy, and he's going to come out and quickly talk to us about his time at the palace and with our now King Charles III. So would you please welcome to the stage a former King Charles III butler, Grant Harrold. Now, we just sat back there because I have this running joke that I said I'm going to put a box of tissues on the table for him. And he's just said, I've got no tissues, so we went to the toilet and grabbed some loo roll for him. And so he's got some in his pocket. So before I start my questions, first of all, condolences about what's happened through the past couple of days. I know you are very close to Her Majesty and the whole of the royal family. So before we start our questions, just quickly tell us a bit of background of yourself, where you're from, where you was born, where you grew up.
I think my accent might give you a clue. I'm originally from Scotland, and a place called Airdrie, and funny enough, Greenock, where I got on, I knew quite well when I was a youngster. So when I knew that's where I was getting on the ship, I thought it was a mistake because it's so near my old home. So that's where I'm originally from, and now I'm lucky enough to live down at Highgrove, which is now King Charles III's royal estate, and as it stands at the moment, still his private home.
Yeah, and that's where you live now. Yeah,
yes.
Now. So we've got a few pictures to show you on big screen. So first of all, let's look at this picture. Tell us quickly about this photo.
How did I look at that again?
How old was you then?
26, I think. 26, 27.
Okay.
This is when it was the Queen's 80th birthday party, and she came up to me, and we were actually chatting about my brother, because my brother was working for her at the time as well. And she said it's the first time that two brothers had possibly worked for the royal family since the time of John Brown. So it was quite unusual. But she was always funny. She always used to say things or do things to catch you off guard, and that's why I'm probably laughing, because she probably said something to me that just completely threw me.
So why did you work for the royal family, and how did it happen? Where did it all start with you?
I had an ambition, a dream when I was a youngster, because I watched a programme about the royal family called ER. It was a documentary, and you saw the Queen and you saw her with her family, and I remember saying to my late father, how do you work for this family, or how do you become part of that family? And he said, well, you either go and work for them or you marry into them. And I'm quite sensible, so I thought, which one could I marry? I wasn't really fussy. Even the corgis would do if they'd have me. And this dream never went away, and I actually wrote 2 letters to the Queen, and I'm sure she may have still had them. I still had my 2 letters, and I even sent her my picture, and I said, this is what I look like, and one day I will come in and look after you, come and work for you. The other part about this documentary I watched, there was a scene, as I said, where the Queen was dancing, and that was also, which I will come back to, but that was also a kind of dream that one day I might actually get to dance with our Queen.
And you did?
We'll find out.
We'll find out a little bit later. Okay, then let's look at the next photo. Now, again, there's always the stories between each photo, so quick, tell us about this one.
So this is the Queen and Prince Philip's wedding anniversary. Once it was their 60th, and it was at Kew Palace, and I was on duty, and it was the most extraordinary thing, because as we were busy serving them, Prince Charles, as he was then, turned around to the Queen and said, can I introduce you to my newest butler? He said, this is Grant. And I remember thinking, it was the most awkward moment, because I was right in the middle of serving something. I think it was probably the vegetables. And I'm looking at the Queen, kind of saying, oh, Your Majesty, kind of thing. And she started kind of chuckling, and she said, oh, so where are you from? And all this kind of thing. So we started chatting. And it was a bit awkward, because the vegetables and the potatoes were kind of getting in the way of the conversation. But she was lovely. I mean, she did it. I think she did it on purpose because this is, as you will get from this conversation, she used to do things to kind of, it would make you laugh. She was very good at that. And then, I say, so Prince Charles did that kind of introduction, and then when this picture was actually being taken, there was a whole lot of cameras and press outside, and my phone went off, which was quite unusual because yes, it's about, I can't remember now, it's over 15 years ago, and I answered it, and it was my mum. And she said, "Are you near the television?" So I said, "What, right now?" She said, "Yeah, can you put it on BBC One?" I said, "I can't right now." She said, "No, because the Queen's on television with Prince Philip at Kew Palace, and it looks amazing." And I said, "Yeah, I'm just actually doing the vegetables. Can I call you back?" True, completely true story.
So that's the first time you actually met the Queen then?
That was when I was first introduced to her. So there was other occasions when I came face to face. I think the very first time I probably came face to face to her was actually probably on the Balmoral estate, when I actually came face to face with her.
We'll talk about moral a little bit later on. Let's have a look at this next photo. Again, another fitting photo. Quickly talk to us about this photo.
Oh, this is the wedding of the now King and Queen. Yeah. And I was very lucky because I'd already been there for, I think I'd been there for 6 months when the engagement got announced. And just so all of you know, I think a lot of people think we find out what goes on before everyone else gets told. I was in the staff room having my breakfast when the BBC News flash came up saying that the Prince of Wales is engaged to Camilla Packer Bowles.
I like the way you said I was in the south room.
No, the staff room.
Oh, the staff room. Okay, so the south rooms.
I've got a bit grandson's Adrian. I was in the south room of the. I was in the staff room, and I'll come back. I've got to say something about my accent in Prince Charles. And I saw it on the news, and that was the first that I knew of it. So we didn't always get told things. Accents, just like Prince Charles thought it was hysterical because sometimes I would say something to him and he couldn't understand, and there was many occasions that I would have him in hysterics. I remember once he phoned up to ask me something. He was trying to find somebody, and I remember saying to him, he was asking what one of the butlers was, and I said, he's popped out. And he went, "He's what?" I said, "He's popped out." "What?" I said, "He's popped out, sir." "What do you mean popped out?" I said, "He's gone." "Gone?" "Gone." I said, "Well, he's not left, sir, he's just gone to the shops." "Oh, okay." And then he just went into hysterics. That was the funniest thing. So we used to have lots of those weird conversations.
So was there any point of when you worked for Prince, now King Charles III, that you had to pinch yourself?
Yeah, lots. Like up until the first year, I would, because it was so surreal, being in a room and suddenly he would just walk in, or you walk along a corridor and suddenly he's there. It was just strange. It wasn't just him. It was the same with the Duchess. It was the same with other members of the royal family, with William. Prince William also is a bit of a practical joker as well, because again, like his father and his grandmother, I remember being in the local garage getting some fuel, some petrol for the car, and he...
you just by yourself or with them?
Yeah, just me, just on my own. Went in. I think it was Prince Charles's car. I was actually filling up with some fuel, and when I went to pay, there was somebody behind me, and I had this tap on the shoulder, and I ignored them, and I did it again. And I gave them a look, and I thought I gave one of those Scottish looks, didn't stop, did it again. And so I turned around and said, what do you want? Have you got a problem? And the voice said, "You don't recognise me, do you?" And I said, "No," and he lifted the visor, and it was Prince William. Little bit, Your Highness. Tap away, sir.
Okay, let's look at his next photo.
I
love this photo, absolutely love this photo. Now, did the Queen have a sense of humour?
Oh God, yes. 100%.
Okay, calm down. It's okay. It is a very, I just a smile.
This picture was taken just after the photographer fell over. I know the photographer Brian Harris took the picture, and he walked backwards, and he tripped, and she just went into hysterics. I think we're all going to miss her laugh, if I'm honest.
Yes, I think we all will miss that laugh. For me, this picture just shows she's just a normal person. And a lot of people look at the royal family and don't think they're normal, but they're just human beings, just like us all.
Yeah, I've got to tell you something funny about this lady. I remember in Scotland once going to announce dinner, and I went into the room and the Queen was there with other members of the royal family, and I said, Your Majesty, dinner is served as you see in Downton Abbey. And she went, oh, okay, so we walked out the room and I went up the steps, and if I may demonstrate, we walked up these steps and there's a long corridor and the room's down there and there's a wall the whole way along. And the Queen stood at the top of the steps, I stood next to her, and she went like that to see what the royal family were doing, and they were all still in there, and she went, right, and she ran down this corridor. And as a butler, I didn't know what I was supposed to do, and I thought, well, I better keep up with her. So as the Queen's obviously kind of like doing this, the only thing I could do to kind of not look too silly was kind of we got into the dining room and she looked at me and she said, right, let's see how long it takes them all to get in here, because they should have been in before the Queen. And they all came running into the room like a herd of elephants. And she looked at me and she winked at me, which was just like, oh. So that's what the Queen was like.
Okay, let's have a look at the next photo. Very nice uniform. Well, obviously, that's the uniform.
That's the uniform. But I wanted to use this picture for a reason. This is what we wore as butlers to the Prince of Wales, now King Charles III. And I've got a story about this because I thought the uniform was quite smart. Normally, forgive me, I've obviously the household and ex-members will ask obviously for wearing black. But normally I'd wear my dark blue suit when I do these talks because it's very similar to what I used to wear. And it's got what was the Prince of Wales garter badge on the lapels. And one of the other butlers I worked with was very grand. He would call the staff room the South Room. He's very grand. And we were doing an event, and this lady went up to him. I'll never forget it. She went up and she tugged a short little lady, and she tugged his jacket. And he turned and went, yes, madam. And he said, she said, can I just say, I think it's wonderful that His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales employs the Salvation Army to help at events.
So does that uniform go back in time? Is it like...
No, it's just one that was obviously designed for the then Prince. So the Queen's butlers, you've seen they wear, depending on the event, sometimes you see them wearing traditional butler outfits, sometimes you'll see them wearing suits, sometimes you'll see them wearing that wonderful red royal livery, which I'm sure you recognise. The footmen wear that. So they've got amazing, and those uniforms go way back. Those are hand-me-downs for generations. Generations.
Okay, let's have a look at the next.
Balmoral.
Beautiful Balmoral Castle. Before I ask the question, so looking at that castle, the gates, where are the gates where everyone stands outside?
Down this way.
Okay, so
yeah.
Alright, so we're looking at the side of the castle.
Yeah, this is where I find it a little bit tricky because I love this place and I know how much our Queen loved her Balmoral.
So this is obviously this is one of the residents. Have you been to many of the residents?
Yeah, but this is the one that meant something to her. So basically, the documentary I told you about that I watched, part of it was filmed at Balmoral, and this is where you saw the dancing, the Queen dancing. This is where my dream came from. And when I was working for Prince Charles about a year in, there was a notice board at Beck Hall, which was his official residence, and it said that there was going to be the Gillies Ball, and this was the ball that I saw, and I thought it would be amazing to actually go to that. So weirdly, the pipe major, not the one it's actually on the ship just now, strange, I thought it was for a moment, but pipe major gave me secret dancing lessons so that I could learn how to, in case I went to the ball. And then during dinner of the ball, Prince Charles said to me, are you going to come along tonight? And I said, sir, I don't have anything to wear, because I started checking it out, because I thought this could be so embarrassing if I go. And then he said, I thought you've got your kilt. And I said, I've got my kilt. He said, well, you can wear your kilt. And then I said, well, I haven't got any transport. I did a real Cinderella. And the Duchess said, well, you can come with us in convoy. And I thought, why did I not think I can travel with the Prince of Wales, Dutch convoy in convoy? Why did I not think of that? Anyway, so I went and got changed, because they told me to go and change. And I came back and I went down to the entrance hall of Beck Hall, and the cars were all out the front, and we all walked out, and I went to get into the car, and then the bodyguard pulled me back and said, Grant, I know you're travelling with them, but the car with the flag is for the Prince. So I went into the car behind. Weirdly called the ladies in waiting's car, apparently. So off we go in convoy. We get to the castle, and those gates you've all seen in recent days, and we slowed down, and it was an amazing moment. As we were driving in, there was where you've seen people standing, there was loads of people all just standing there. And I looked at them and I thought, wow, and I remember as a kid standing there watching this very thing. And there was one of the private detectives was actually sitting next to me. And as we were going in through the gates, we slowed down and everyone started waving and there was kind of cheers. And automatically this happened, and please forgive me, I don't know why, but suddenly I did this. And the detective said, what are you doing? And I said, the people, they have come so far, because I travelled 3 hours. And then he said, do you want a white glove? And I said, do you have one? And anyway, we got up to the castle and we came to this front here. They went in. I had to go all the way around the side here to the back ballroom, which is just at the back of the castle. Went into the ballroom and I hid. There was a screen and I hid behind this screen because I got scared. The national anthem played and our late Queen and the royal family walked down this staircase into the ballroom. And the Duchess of Cornwall, she was then, came straight to me. She clocked me, she came over to me and she said, I believe we have a dance. And we danced, and during the dance she said, you're shaking, what is wrong? And I said, I had a dream as a child that one day I would be here and I would dance with the Queen. And she said, there's 150 people in this room, it's highly unlikely that you're going to dance with the Queen. So she said, just relax and enjoy the dance. So we finished the dance, and when we finished, she was I was looking like this, and she was facing out into the room, and she went, oh, like that. So I thought I was standing on her feet. So I looked down, and I went, you're behind it. And she's like, ow, like that. And I'm thinking, what does that mean? So then I turned around, and I was like, oh. And then, because behind me was, ew, the Queen. And I looked at the Duchess, and I was like, see, this is and then the Queen immediately put her hands up and said, shall we? And what do you say? No? So I think I was so nervous, I probably went, you know? And the music started. The Queen then got other members of the royal family together, and I ended up doing one of these very dances, which if you Google Gilly's Balmoral Castle, you will see the dance, and it was amazing. And she kept, she would tell you off. If she saw my feet wrong, she would tell me off, which was hysterical. And at the end of it, I went out and phoned, oh no, but I'm quick to tell you, when the dance finishes, you kind of, somebody goes under, somebody goes over, I was holding the Duchess of Cornwall's hand and the Queen was opposite, and somebody goes under, somebody goes over, and you do forward, back, forward, and then you do this under, over. And the Duchess was keeping my hand up, so I yanked her hand, and we almost fell, and the Queen walked past, and they move on to the next group. And the Duchess looked at me, and she said, what have you just done? She said, I almost fell. And I said, you're right, I'm so sorry, but I said, you almost made the Queen bow to you. And she was like, oh. And I said, the Queen bows to nobody. And she was like, oh, thank God. And I thought, I've saved the monarchy.
Before we move on, just a quick question. This is not on our list. What was it like at Christmas there? Did you ever go there at Christmas?
No, Sandringham. Balmoral was always summer, summer.
Okay.
Weirdly, if I'm a sailing gentleman, the thing that I find really touching is this is my view, I've not been given this inside information. I have a feeling that our Queen wasn't well towards the end, and I think she picked Balmoral because she loved it. So.
Yeah, you did say that.
And the ballroom that we danced in is where she actually was laid for her final night, for a few nights there. So I think the Queen purposely knew what she planned. She was a planner. Everything she did, she planned, and I think she planned everything up to the last moment. But Balmoral was, I don't know if it was her favourite, but Sandringham was where they had Christmases, and that was definitely.
Did you ever go to Sandringham?
Oh yes.
What was that like?
Yes.
What was it like?
Haunted.
Is it really?
Yeah, I'm convinced it was haunted. I didn't like it. I used to almost cry when they used to send me up there on my own to open it up. Can I just tell you, they used to send me up and I'd open it up and nobody would be there. No, because King George VI died there actually. I saw his room, and it was an amazing place. And I was convinced there was like, I don't know, just had a funny feeling. And then one night, I was in my bed and I suddenly was aware of, I thought, a presence in my room, and I opened my eyes and there was a figure at the end of my bed. And I thought, am I looking at George VI? Is it George V? Is it Prince Albert? Couldn't make it out. And then suddenly there's a shadow turned to the side and just walked. And then the weirdest part of this ghost opened my door. And I thought, why didn't the ghost open doors? So I then followed the ghost and opened the door and discovered it was one of the other footmen that was sleepwalking.
So you wasn't there by yourself in that whole castle, there's a few other people there?
Oh yeah, sometimes,
Okay.
yeah, there'd be staff come in.
All
I
right.
only used to go on my own to open it, and then other, you know, and then you'd have the royals arrive and everything, but it was beautiful. The Queen did love standing as well.
Okay, let's have a look at the next photo. Look at this photo again. So Prince Charles, of course, did he have a great sense of humour?
Yes.
Obviously you worked
Yes.
him closely.
Yes, he's got a very infectious laugh. What's funny is many a time I'd be on duty with the King and Queen, and the Queen, and you will see this, I promise you, I think you'll see it in the years to come. You can Google this, you'll see footage of it. She has this habit of going into hysterics. She gets the giggles, and it is dangerous. It is so dangerous. And the problem is he tries so hard not to, and he can't resist. And that's the best bit, is when you see her and you see him suddenly losing. And he tries to compose himself, which makes it even worse. And then everybody ends up laughing. So he's got an amazing, I think that's what's sad, when people say he's so stuffy and old-fashioned, and it's not him at all. You know, I'm hoping that's what you're going to see coming up, is that humorous side.
Yeah, because we were just talking just about King Charles, and that we'd just be watching the television and he got to Hillsborough Castle in Belfast, and when he gets out of the car, he's literally just talking to people and shaking hands, and this is kind of a new thing. But he normally does that, does he, our King?
No, normally, I mean, they do shake hands, but I mean, the Queen did less and less as she got older. Believe it or not, because it's just for health, you know, to make sure you don't catch colds and things. But I've even seen him fist bump. I've seen him high five. I thought he was feeling ill that day, but he was fine. It was a group of school kids. He was fist pumping with the kids, and I thought it's really good because it shows that he's quite he's very down to earth.
So tell us about this picture then.
It's just one of the events he's at. You know, there's no kind of real significance to this one. It's just the fact that it's an event he's at. He loves doing these kind of things. I think people think that he has to go to do all his things because it's part of his job, but he's a real people person, which is why he created for example, the Princess Foundation, you know, to help others. But it's just, as I said, I just loved it when I used to go with them on to events, and I just thought it was quite, especially as I said, if they got the giggles or something, it was always quite good fun. It also interests me how nervous people get around them as well. You see people, and I'm not talking about just every day, I'm talking to people, you know, that you would think would get nervous, and they get so tongue-tied and don't know what to do or how to behave, and it's really funny, really funny.
Let's look at the next picture. The new Prince and Princess of Wales. Have you met these two?
Oh yes, oh yeah, because they were actually dating when I started, so which was one of those trickiest secrets at the time, obviously, to keep, because which is great, they managed to keep it quite quiet for a long time. I felt very lucky to kind of be around them. I got on very well with both of them. I ended up, let's not tell Prince Charles or King Charles, but I probably did more for them at one point than I did for him, because all my weekends and weeks off I used to hang out. I say hang out, I used to go and look after them. So completely voluntary. But you know, they would travel and I loved being around them, and I got on really well with them, so it was fun, and I was very upset when they separated. I was really upset because I remember when the separation happened and I heard about it in the news, and I didn't bring it up to him, but I remember kind of wanting to kind of say what's going on, and I thought, no, I'll leave it. And then, but when they got back together, it wasn't long, it was only maybe a month or two or something, and when they got back together, at that point I did say to him, I'm really glad, I said, because I have visions of you guys on every tea towel, and if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be really unhappy, and also I lose my bet, you know, the bookies.
So, has a royal butler and somebody coming into the family who's not from royal blood, there's a two-part question. What's it like for you, and what's it like for Kate and for Harry's wife as well? What's it like for people coming into the royal household?
It's very strange. So And it's funny you mention it, because I always have asked that, and I have had this conversation with Kate back in the day, because she's come in obviously at that point as a girlfriend. I came in as a member of staff. So the kind of rules and things you do are all very similar, believe it or not. The Royals have the same rules that the staff have, which are the most obvious things, you know, the things you don't do and that. But obviously then it's slightly different, because if you're dating the Royals, obviously it's I think there's more pressure, to be honest. But it's just kind of getting used to, it's protocols and etiquette and traditions and kind of knowing what to do and what not to do. Can I give you all a piece of advice? If you see, well, as he's now the king, the first time I saw Prince Charles, I panicked. And I was again in Scotland at Brick Hall, and him and the Duchess were at the end of this corridor, and I panicked, and there was a door on my right, and I thought, I'll hide, because I didn't know what to do. So I dived into this room, and it was a cupboard. It wasn't just a cupboard, it was a drinks cupboard. The Queen Mother was convinced the butlers used to drink, this was not going to help the situation. And the next thing I had, the Prince, I remember thinking, he won't know. And I had him outside, I had him turn around to the Duchess, and he said, do you think he's okay? And she said, maybe he needs a bit of space. And then the classic lads were, do you think he's going to come out? At which point I thought, I need to get out this cupboard, and so I opened it, and I didn't look at them, and there was a door opposite, so I leaned across, opened that door, let this door go, and it closed, and when I opened that door, it was thankfully a staircase, and I thought, thank the God, you know, there's a staircase, and I turned round, and I acknowledged them obviously, and I said, oh, Your Highnesses, good morning, and they both just put these grins on their faces, didn't say anything, and I ran round to the butler's pantry, and by the time they got round to the other room, they were in hysterics. They thought it was the funniest thing they've ever seen.
Brilliant stuff. Moving on to the next photo. Also, here you are with now the King Charles. Tell us a bit about this.
The only picture exists of me and King Charles, because as a butler you were not allowed to have pictures, and certainly not selfies. You know, I'd never dream ever of going up to a member of the royal family. Weirdly, a few months before I actually left, this was at Christmas time, and we were chatting, and a photographer actually took the picture. But, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a confession to make about this picture. It's been edited. There was two people in between us. And the two chaps in between us, and one is actually now a priest, they were drunk, completely drunk, and they were like kind of slurping, and it did not look good, and poor Prince Charles and myself were trying to have a conversation, and I thought, for the sake of now King and my reputation, I edited them out. I had somebody very kindly edited them out, so that's what happened there. But it's very rare to have pictures with him, so I was very lucky to have a picture with him, and obviously with the Queen.
Now, a two-part question. How do you think King Charles will do? And do you think he knew this day was coming?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Did he have training for it, or was he training? We did talk about this. I asked you a question yesterday about what time to go to bed. You went midnight, and what does he do? And we talked about bits and pieces about he does like some government stuff and that. Yeah.
Yeah. Even when I go to bed, he'll still be working away. You know, he doesn't suddenly, you know, because it's like 10 o'clock at night. Oh, that's I'm off to bed. I don't think people realise how hard they do work. He's very dedicated to that, and but the training's been going on his whole life. You know, he's trained his whole life. I think what was really significant, I again have a theory, and I think a lot of you might agree. I think the Queen was handed over power over the last year. I think she must have had an inkling of some kind, and I think that's why we saw him open Parliament. Because she was at that point in time where she was able to do it, and I think she got him to do it because it was important to show this is how it was going to be. So I think, as I said a minute ago, she plans everything, and I think even what's going on right now, I mean, in about an hour and a half she leaves Edinburgh, and I think everything has been planned. What has been? And how do you plan all that? So she must have had an idea. So he would have been fully aware of what was coming, and you know, he's done so much in the last couple of days. It's extraordinary what he's managed to kind of do, and I think whether you hate or love him, I think we've all got to kind of admire the fact that he's lost a parent and he's managing to do the best he can at the moment, you know.
How do you think he'll cope as a king?
I think he'd be a good king. He's a caring. He is a caring man. He's quite compassionate, which I know people might find hard to believe, but he's very, he never wanted you worrying about something. Or I remember once he said to me that, he wants everyone to be happy and to enjoy the work, and and it's difficult for him because back then he had a big household. Now he's got an even bigger household. He's got a huge household now, and he's no longer. I mean, I'm lucky. I mean, when I worked for him, there was only a few of us. Now there is hundreds. So it's going to be very, very different. Very different.
I bet it's going to be. There's one question I've not even asked you. As a Queen, Prince Charles Buttler, now King, what does a butler actually do? No, that's that question.
Come and chat to you, Steve.
Yeah, it's come in and chat to us, yeah.
No, a butler, it's kind of what you see in Downton Abbey. It's looking after the guests, looking after meals, serving drinks. Working for the Royal is slightly different because you're obviously looking after the family. You're also kind of just running day-to-day errands for them. I suppose kind of personal assistant, like a modern day personal assistant kind of thing. But I loved every part of it, and you get a lot of downtime, so you get to spend time around them when you're off duty as well. So often, you bump into them. You can often see the royals in the local towns doing their shopping as well. I remember, you won't believe it, I used to run, but those days are long gone, but I used to run, and when I used to run, especially up in the Morrow, I used to bump into them all. I've got to tell you a quick story about the Morrow again. You were saying about some of the first times I ever met the Queen, not introduced, but actually met her. The very, very, very first time I came face to face with her, I was actually, again, it was up at Morrow, and I was on horseback. I had the opportunity to go horse riding, to ride her ponies that got exercise every day. And on this one occasion, we were coming down by the castle, and as we came down, my horse started acting strange. It started kind of as if something was scaring it. And I looked down and I thought there was rats or like rabbits or something. So I started saying to the others on the horses, careful, there's rabbits or rats or something, there's something dark. We're in some wooded area, and I could see the castle just beyond. And one of the other ladies was doing this to me, and I thought, what does that mean? So I looked again, and I was like, oh, hello, nice corgis, hello. And standing there was the Queen with headscarf, who was laughing at this whole, but she was very good, because she actually called the dogs away from us, because obviously she said, oh, called them, but all their names, all of them, I think she had about 6 of them or something. And then the girl next to us said, it's the Queen, so we all bowed our heads. Can I just advise none of you bow your heads when you're on a horse? The Queen just started laughing again. Just thought, God, I've got a right bunch here.
Okay, let's go to the next photo. Oh, great photo. Absolutely superb.
Well, listen, this was the family when I left. Obviously, it was a year or so after I'd left, because I left when these two just got married. And obviously you've got little George there. And those were just such, can I say, they were such happy years. I can say that, it was a real, I think what has saddened me over the last couple of years is seeing the Queen get old. And I find that really, really difficult. The last time I saw her was probably before COVID, so it was just before COVID, at a party at the palace, and she came up to me, and I remember being horrified at how shorter, I hope it doesn't sound weird, but shorter she was, and also even then I thought she was just looking older, and Prince Philip. And even then, you kind of think, oh God, don't, just keep going, But when I look at that just reminds me of such really nice times, really good memories.
Yeah, I always feel the Queen was like the bond to that family. So now that bond is gone, how do you think they will cope?
She was a super glue, there's no question. She held everything together. I don't know, because King Charles, as I said, he will be a good king, but the Queen was all very much about family. She was very, because remember all her kids and their grandkids. She was the super glue, and that's now gone. And I think it's going to be a very different. I think what's going to happen between, we've also got a coronation and we've got the investiture of Prince and Princess of Wales. I think it's going to change a lot, and I think the royal family going forward is going to be a smaller family. I think it's going to be, which is what the Queen, I think, had planned. Prince Charles, Prince William, and obviously his family, and I think that will be it going forward. So I think it's going to be very different.
Do you think Harry will ever come back into the fold and do his bits for, or do you think he's gone through? He'll always be on the threshold, but I think he's.
I think Harry is always going to be kind of tricky. I mean, I think I said to get some guests earlier who were asking me about the Harry Meghan, and I was honest. I said I'm on the fence, and it's only because I know how difficult it can be to be in the household. It can be very political, very tricky. But also, if you go in there trying to make changes, it's not going to happen. I think I wish that what happened hadn't happened. I wish that, you know, for the Queen's sake, it would be nice if it all stayed how it should have been. Will he come back? I don't know. King Charles has given an olive branch. They've had the Royal Walkabout. I've been told it's possible that we'll see more of them doing stuff. So I'd like to think that, I don't think it will be the same, but I think for the Queen's sake, I think what would be a huge tribute to the Queen is if a second book does not come out, I think would be really important. And I think going forward, that they have their new life, they do what they do, and just remember that, you know, one day his brother is going to be the king, and it's just trying to work out something that means that they can go on as a family and not cause any more upset.
Yeah. Looking at that picture, let's go from the top left, and just tell me one word of each of those people in those pictures that comes to your mind. Let's start off with the Duke of Edinburgh.
The Duke. One word's very difficult. I can't use the word, it's a swear word, so I can't use that because he would just come out with a swear word. So, can I say straight to the point?
Just tell us.
Straight to the point.
Straight to the point. Okay, King Charles.
Kind.
Queen. The Queen concept, sorry.
Down to earth, but it's 3 words.
Down to earth, yeah. Harry.
Naughty.
The late Queen.
Magical.
So that again?
Magical.
Magical. Oh, that's a nice word. Catherine, Princess of Wales.
I want to say a queen in the making.
I think she's going to be a superb queen. And of course, Prince of Wales Williams.
Sensible.
Is he very sensible? Is he?
Yeah.
What about their kids? Have you met the kids?
I haven't. My colleagues have all looked after the kids, and they say that they're a handful, but they're kids.
As kids are. One last question. I'm not asked this question at all, but I want you to tell us something that we'll go, wow. That's put you on the spot, isn't it? Something that we don't know that you can tell us. There's certain things you can't tell us. I know that because you sign a non-disclosure. You always sign a non-disclosure. I know about non-disclosure things. But there's something that you can tell us that we'll go, wow.
It's maybe, it goes back to Balmoral, and you might quite like this. So the Queen and her late husband, which I think is apt to finish on them, when they used to go to Balmoral, they'd have 2 weeks at a lodge called Craignagown Lodge, which is on the estate. And when they were at this lodge, they would there'd be no staff. The staff would set it up, but that was it. And when they were there, the nickname was Mr. and Mrs. Windsor. So they would just be like all of us, just with your loved one, whoever it is, and that was it. And apparently the Queen would do the meals, do the cooking, and he would lay the tables. I'm sure that he got frustrated, but he'd do the tables, and they would be just like anyone else, nobody else helping them, and that was what I think was quite special about that couple, because we all see them as a late Queen and Prince Consort, but together they were an amazing team, and personally I miss them.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, let's end with you. So obviously you've been away from being the King's butler for a while now. So what happens to you now? Is there like, is there something that happens after you've left being a butler? Do you move on to someone else's butler, or do you just retire, or what do you actually do?
When I finished working with them, it sounds strange, but I didn't want, that was my dream, and I didn't want to carry on in that role. So I established a royal etiquette and butler school with the Queen's niece, actually. And we now, as weird as this might sound to a lot of you, we now train royals. So I train, I have European clients, I train their staff. I try to teach celebrities how to be royal for television purposes. I do a lot of media work now. When I was a kid, I always wanted to go into television. I've done about 6 reality shows. They've actually watched some of them. The Queen consort, the new Queen consort, used to introduce me as the TV butler when I joined. So they knew about my media work. And now, at the moment, obviously I'm here, but when I go back, I'm in London. I'm actually working with BBC News over for coverage of everything. So media is a big part of what I also do. So I'll go off the ship on Thursday, back down to London Friday. I've been asked if I'd like to go and see the Queen, so I'll probably do that, and then the next 3 days will probably be a bit of a blur, but I'll be doing, it's going to be difficult because I'm going to see my old colleagues, and I'm also going to, as they do, probably some media bits and pieces, and then go back to the day job, which is it's running my school and doing weird and wonderful things.
Well, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on board Emerald Princess, and during these times as well. I know you're busy, I know you're rushing back to your room and you're doing telephone interviews here and there. I tried to call him 5 times yesterday, he wouldn't answer his phone, and then he told me, I'm doing interviews everywhere, so I know you're a very, very busy person. But if you do see him around the ships, please tell him that story you told me yesterday about the laundry.
Okay, yes.
So this happened yesterday.
Is there a lady here that met me in the laundry yesterday? Oh, you're there! I was telling Steve, that was lovely. I'm not good at fixing wash machines, by the way.
Tell her the story. I thought this was hilarious.
Do you mind if I tell the story? There was another lady, I don't know if she's here, who, are you there? Hi. Who didn't know how to work the washing machine. And my nature is I'll help anybody, and I could see you were stuck. So she said, are you staff? I said, well, not exactly. So I said, well, let me give you a hand. So I happily go into the laundry room, and this other lovely lady here, it was something of a comedy. He went, oh my God, you're here. And I'm going, yes. My God, you're here. And the other lady's going, yes, I found him in the corridor to come fix the washing machine. And she's going, no, but it's him. It's the butler. It's King Charles butler. And it was the most extraordinary situation I've ever been in. It was so funny. It was so lovely to meet both of you. And we managed to fix the washing machine somehow because somebody else came in. It was like a Faulty Tower sketch. It was brilliant. Absolutely. Lovely to see you both here.
Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation for Grant Harrold. And thank you very much, Grant. And thank you for joining us. Don't forget, Dean and Lodge coming your way at 4 o'clock. Thank you very much.